The 10,000 Iteration, Adahis Protocol, inspired by Tony Antonova, Jyotsna Jayaraman, and Ishan Wilson. Episode 2 of 5. I come out of the memory abruptly, as though yanked up from deep water. One moment I am 6 years old, kneeling at my mother's hospital bed as her hand grows cold in mine. The next, I'm back in the underground lab, my heart pounding. My cheeks are wet with tears. Dim light replaces the memory's haze. I'm slumped in the padded immersion chair, the sensor net clinging to my scalp. For a second, I don't know when I am. Part of me is still that grieving child in the 21st century, part of me the millennia-old man I've become. A gentle pressure on my shoulder draws me back. "Andrew, can you hear me?" Eleanor's voice, soft and low, cuts through the confusion. She's right beside me, kneeling, her face lined with concern. The faint hum of biomonitors and cooling fans fills the secret chamber. I blink, focus on her, and nod weakly. "I'm here," I whisper. My voice trembles. A moment ago in the memory, I had been sobbing with a child's high-pitched wail, and it's jarring to hear my present voice, older, steadier, coming out of my mouth. I saw her again. It was so real. The words spill out before I can think. Eleanor exhales and gives a small, relieved smile as she begins gently removing the mesh of electrodes from my head. "That was a deep one," she murmurs. "You were under for almost an hour. Your neural readings were off the charts, especially your emotional centers." She pauses, studying my face. "How do you feel?" I take a shuddering breath and scrub the tears from my cheeks with the heel of my hand. How do I feel? Raw, I say honestly. It hurt, but I feel alive. My heart is still aching from reliving my mother's death, but behind the pain is a strange sense of vitality. In everyday life, my emotions have been muted for centuries, dulled by the sheer weight of time. Now, in the wake of that experience, everything is vivid. I remembered every detail, the antiseptic smell of the hospital, the pattern of sunlight on the floor. I was there, Eleanor, with her. My voice breaks on the last word. She squeezes my shoulder. We both know how personal this is. By all laws and regulations, what we just did, this forbidden dive into my own consciousness, is highly illegal. But my need outweighed the risks. After 10,000 iterations of life, I've begun to fear that I lost something essential along the way. I had to do this, no matter the cost. "That's why we're here," Eleanor says gently, "to help you reconnect with who you were." Her eyes search mine. "But Andrew, we also have to be careful. That was a lot to take in." I nod. My hands are steady now as I pull off the last of the sticky sensor pads on my temples. I feel drained and shaky, as if I'd truly been through that childhood trauma just now, which, in a sense, I have. "It was worth it," I reply. "I needed to feel her, and to feel like myself again, even if just for a moment." I meet Eleanor's gaze, and it's only made me more sure. I need to go further. Eleanor moves to the console, eyes flicking over floating data readouts. "I suspected you'd say that," she says wryly. She takes a deep breath. "We can, and we will. But let's not rush. Your psyche will need time to process. Diving straight back in could be dangerous." I push myself up from the chair, testing my legs. They're stiff but hold. My entire body feels like it's carrying the weight of that memory. "Dangerous is living without knowing who I truly am," I says quietly. "Elena, I appreciate the caution, but I've been waiting, for centuries, to feel something real. Now that I have, I can't stop." She opens her mouth to protest, but I continue, passion rising in my chest. I walk around with 10,000 lifetimes of memories, but they're just that. Memories. Data. I remember events, facts, people I've loved and lost, but I don't feel them anymore. They might as well have happened to someone else. For so long I've feared that Andrew Muller, the real original Andrew born in 1990-something, died a long time ago, and I'm just an echo carrying his memories. My throat tightens. When I held my mother's hand just now, I felt like him again, the person I used to be. I need to keep going. I need to find out if there's something in me beyond the stored memories, something that truly is me, continuous from the beginning. Eleanor's expression softens. I understand, she says, and I believe she truly does. She's one of the few in this era who might. As a rogue consciousness researcher, she's studied others like me. Continuity survivors. People who've been rebuilt and revived again and again. There aren't many of us, and none as old as I am. Officially, everyone assumes the process is perfect, that I'm exactly the same person each time, just carried forward. Unofficially, minds like Elena's have their doubts. I have my doubts. That's why we're here. We'll continue, she assures me, but I need to run a diagnostic on what just happened. There was a anomaly in your neural readings near the end. She points to a hollow display showing a complex graph of my brain activity during the session. A sharp spike is visible just before the moment she pulled me out. I frown, trying to recall anything unusual. An anomaly, I echo. What kind of anomaly? It was a sudden burst of high-frequency activity across multiple brain regions, she explains, tracing the spike with her finger. Almost like your brain recognized something unexpected or reacted to a stimulus that I didn't anticipate. In the memory, I was wholly focused on my dying mother. Nothing unexpected there, tragically. I don't remember anything odd, I murmur. Aside from the overwhelming grief, the scene played out as it did long ago. I only broke out of it when Elena ended the session. Maybe it was just a quirk of the interface AI, Elena says, not sounding entirely convinced. It could have inserted some subtle detail to help reconstruct the scene, and your subconscious reacted. We'll keep an eye on it in future dives. She taps the console, and the graph minimizes. For now, let's take a short break, okay? Then we can decide our next step. I realize my shirt is damp with sweat, and my muscles are aching from tension. A break is probably wise. I nod and follow her out of the immersion chamber into the adjacent anteroom. This hidden lab beneath the city is small and sparse, just a few rooms sealed off from prying eyes by layers of encryption and literal concrete. As I sip some water and nibble a nutrient bar she gives me, I can't help but glance at the ceiling. Up above, far beyond the bunker walls, the central AI and its surveillance web quietly oversee the metropolis. We've gone to great lengths to avoid detection. Fake IDs, lead shielding, quantum scramblers, because if we're caught, the punishment will be severe for all of us. But right now, the fear of being discovered is secondary. My mind is still buzzing with the intensity of what I just lived through and with anticipation of what I might uncover next. Elena's colleague, Marcus, pokes his head in. He's the one managing the AI systems that guide my inner journeys. All systems nominal, he reports quietly. He's trying not to intrude on our personal moment, but I see curiosity in his eyes. He didn't experience what I did. He only saw the data. He must be dying to know what I felt. Elena gives him a brief nod of thanks, and he retreats, leaving us alone again. She turns back to me. All right. If you're up for another session, we need to pick a target. We started with a core childhood memory. Perhaps next we should try something less traumatic or more recent. Surprisingly, I shake my head. I want to go further back, I say. Her brow furrows. Further back? Andrew, you barely have explicit memories before age 6. Exactly, I say. I want to push the limits. What's the earliest moment my brain could possibly recall? Maybe not a proper memory, but sensations, emotions from when I was a toddler or an infant. Elaborate reconstruction, Eleanor murmurs, thinking. That would rely heavily on the AI to simulate, since you won't have narrative memories from that age. We'd be venturing into territory where it's part your neural traces, part educated guess. I know, I inhale deeply, but I have to try. If I'm searching for the foundations of my identity, what's more foundational than my earliest years, when I first formed? Even if it's fragmentary, Maybe I can feel what it was like to be me before any of the later experiences. Something pure. She considers this for a long moment, absently twisting a stylus in her fingers. I can almost see the calculations running behind her eyes. Finally, Eleanor gives a slow nod. All right, we'll attempt a deep regressive dive, but we'll proceed cautiously and monitor you closely. The AI will need to guide the experience more dynamically. A few minutes later, I'm back in the immersion chair, dried off and a bit steadier. I read on the neural interface, and Marcus has tuned the system for regression mode. He gives me a thumbs up from behind the glass partition. Eleanor stands beside me, one hand on my shoulder. Ready? She asks. Ready, I say, heart thumping. Deep breaths. Just let the images come. We'll start slow. Her voice is calming. I close my eyes and sink into darkness, listening to my breathing and the faint tonal harmonics the system feeds in to lull my brainwaves. Soon, impressions start to drift up from that darkness. Faint colors, diffuse light. The AI must be easing me backward, testing for any response. I catch a whiff of a scent, something soft and comforting. Baby powder. And a sound, low and melodic. Someone humming. A warmth surrounds me. I realize I'm being held. I have no visual reference yet. Everything is blurry and vague, but I feel the unmistakable security of being cradled in loving arms. A woman's voice murmurs a lullaby. I know without question that it's my mother. Not the worn, ill mother from the hospital memory, but my mother decades earlier, when I was a baby and she was vibrant and full of life. Emotion wells up in me, a profound contentment, a sense of belonging and love. Tears slip down my real-world cheeks, even as, in the immersive space, I gurgle happily. It's an odd, dual consciousness. I am both the adult observer, moved by what I'm experiencing, and the infant who doesn't understand words but knows the comfort of his mother's voice. This is my earliest self, I think, a being of need and trust and love, before memory, before pain. The scene gently shifts. Time is fluid here. I might be a bit older now, perhaps a toddler. My vision in the simulation clears slightly. I find myself tottering on two little legs in a sunlit backyard. I recognize the place, my childhood home's garden, as seen from a knee-high perspective. I hear the delighted laugh of a man. Dad is here, younger and strong. He's crouching a few steps away on the grass, arms open, encouraging me to walk. I feel my chubby hands reaching out toward him, balancing. Then I tumble. My knee scrapes the ground, and a bright sting of pain flares. I, the child, wail in surprise. Instantly, there are gentle hands scooping me up. My father's arms around me, my mother rushing over. They soothe me with gentle words and kisses on my forehead. The pain subsides. I sniffle, safe and loved. I, the present-day Andrew, marvel at the authenticity of it. I have no conscious memory of this day, yet here it unfolds in rich detail. Whether it's exactly how it happened or partly filled in by the AI, it feels true. And the emotions flooding me, trust, love for my parents, the simple joy of their comfort, those must be mine. No matter what has happened in the millennia since, those feelings are the bedrock of me. I almost want to stay here forever, suspended in this innocence. Flicker. The sky flickers. For an instant, the blue summer sky above seems to darken unnaturally, and I sense a distortion, as if the simulation hiccuped. I see my father's face looking down at me, concerned, and then for a split second, his face is overlapped by another image, a dark room and a figure standing over me. What was that? A glitch in the AI's rendering. My contentment is suddenly laced with unease. My adult mind, riding along in this toddler body, tenses. Something feels wrong. Andrew, everything all right? Eleanor's voice echoes faintly from beyond, a reminder that my real body is lying in a chair in a lab. She sounds concerned. The system must have detected a spike in my stress. In the simulation, my crying has stopped. I'm staring over my father's shoulder toward the edge of the yard. There, just beyond the white fence, stands a figure. It wasn't there a moment ago. It certainly doesn't belong in any idyllic memory of my childhood. Tall, motionless, and watching us. The sun is behind it, casting it in silhouette. My toddler self doesn't recognize who that could be, but I do. A chill grips me that has nothing to do with the simulated breeze. The figure on the other side of the fence is me, an adult man, lanky and still, wearing what looks like a dark suit. I can't make out all the features due to the backlighting, but I see enough: an angular face, grey-streaked hair, and eyes that glint an unnatural electric blue. My own face, older and drawn, staring at me with an intensity that freezes me in place. This can't be part of the program. I feel a lurch of fear. Is it a hallucination? Some bizarre manifestation of my psyche? Or has something external breached our simulation? The figure tilts its head slightly, observing. "You're digging deep, Andrew," it says. The voice is clear, cutting through the air, though neither of my parents react to it. It's speaking not to the toddler, but directly to me. The voice sounds like mine as well, but layered, as if harmonized with a dozen whispering echoes. Deeper than you should. Panic blooms in my chest. In the real world, my body must be reacting. I dimly hear alarms, Elena saying something urgent, but I'm fixated on the intruder. I feel my child self whimper and cling harder to my father's shirt, sensing my fear. I force myself to speak, both in the simulation and, I think, aloud. "Who are you?" The figure steps forward, passing effortlessly through the closed gate. My mother and father stand frozen now, as does everything else. The falling leaves, the neighbor's dog that was mid-run across the grass, frozen. Time has stopped in the memory. The only moving beings are me, in both senses, and this mysterious presence. It comes closer until it stands just a pace away. Now I can see its face better. Yes, it's like looking in a distorted mirror. The man could be me, but something is off. His skin is ashen, his eyes eerily luminous, and he carries an aura of coldness. I have the wild thought that he looks almost like an AI avatar, but no known AI would insert itself like this, in this guise. I try to back away, but in this form, I'm a small child held in my father's stiff arms. I'm effectively trapped. The figure leans down slightly, hands behind its back, examining me with curiosity and a touch of sadness. "After so long alive, you still don't understand," it says quietly. The lips move in sync with the words, an echo of my own mannerisms. "You think memory is identity. You chase these moments, thinking they're the key." I can't feel my real body, but I feel my heart racing, both as child and as the observer. "I just want to remember who I was," I manage to say. The toddler's voice comes out thin and scared. "To be me again." It, he, gives a faint smile. "Remember? You've never forgotten anything, not really. The techs made sure of that. Every iteration, they uploaded all your precious memories right back in. And yet, here you are, searching." His eyes narrow. "Maybe you should ask yourself, what else makes you, you?" Somehow, I find a shard of defiance amidst my fear. "If you're supposed to be some part of me, you already know I have asked that. If you're something else, then you have no right to barge in here," I snap. It's a strange sight, I'm sure, a toddler scowling and speaking with such authority. But this thing is provoking me, and the anger cuts through my terror. "This is my mind. Who are you?" I demand again. It straightens up, a hint of a smirk on its face now. "Who am I? An echo. A possibility. Maybe the real Andrew Muller, Hard to tell, even for me." The figure gives a low chuckle that raises goosebumps on my skin. "I'll say this. I'm not here to answer your questions. I'm here to make you ask the right ones." Behind the figure, I see motion. The frozen scene is dissolving at the edges as Elena's voice grows louder in my ears, calling my name. The intruder glances around as if sensing the disruption. He steps closer once more and fixes me with that burning stare. "10,000 lives, Andrew," he whispers, and I feel his cold hand touch my forehead. 10,000 deaths. Did you think hopping from body to body would have no cost? Think. Remember the moments between life and death, those instants when one body died before the next began. Where were you then? His words reverberate through me like a thunderclap. The moments between, my mind reels. I've always assumed there was nothing, just oblivion, between an iteration's end and the new body's start. But the question fills me with dread. Where was I in those gaps? Was there a flicker of consciousness, something my memory can't record? Before I can respond, the world rushes apart. The figure seems to fragment into shards of darkness and light. With a gut-wrenching lurch, I'm flung out of the simulation. I gasp and jerk upright, the sensor net tearing free from my head. My eyes fly open to the lab's fluorescent lighting. I'm in the chair, alive and whole, but my heart is hammering against my ribs as if I've just escaped death. I rip off the remaining electrodes, my hands shaking violently. Elena is right there, one hand on my arm. "Andrew, it's okay. You're out. You're safe," she says, although her own voice is tight with anxiety. Marcus is hovering just behind her, looking alarmed. The monitors are pinging rapidly. I'm breathing hard, trying to reorient. Real. I'm real. This is now. There's no shadowy version of me lurking in the corner of the lab. My eyes dart around to check, just to be sure. It's just us. I sag back into the chair, feeling sweat cooling on my skin. "Elena, you saw that, right?" "Something was wrong," I managed to say, between gulps of air. "We saw your neural patterns go haywire," she replies. She grabs a blanket and drapes it around my shoulders. Only then do I notice I'm shivering. It was as if the simulation overloaded. We terminated as fast as we could. She kneels, looking into my eyes. "What happened? What did you experience?" I open my mouth, unsure where to begin. I feel a surreal disconnect. Minutes ago, I was a child in my parents' yard. And then, that thing confronted me. I saw someone, I say slowly. A man. He looked like me, but older. Different. He talked to me. Marcus and Elena exchange glances. Marcus edges closer, adjusting his glasses. "The system registered an autonomous presence in the simulation," he says, voice hushed. For a moment, I thought maybe the AI had spawned a guide entity because of the open-ended nature of the regression, but it wasn't in any of the code. It wasn't the AI, I say with certainty, at least not intentionally. This figure, whoever he was, he knew things, personal things. He basically was me, or claimed to be in some way. I swallow, recalling his words. My stomach churns. He was warning me, or taunting me, asking if I've wondered what happens to me in the moments when one life ends and before the next begins. Elena's eyes widen slightly. She understands immediately. For all the continuity technology's marvels, that gap has always been philosophically troubling. When I die, and they revive me in a new cloned body with my memories, is it truly seamless? Or am I effectively being replaced by a copy with the illusion of continuity? It's a question I've avoided facing head-on because the alternative is to accept that the original me has died 1,000 deaths. Marcus mutters a curse under his breath. Could it have been a construct from your own subconscious? A kind of internally generated avatar voicing your doubts? It's possible, Eleanor says thoughtfully. Deep immersion can sometimes externalize parts of one's psyche as hallucinations or dreamlike figures, especially given the existential nature of what we're doing. She looks at me earnestly. Andrew, the figure's words, those are questions you already carry, aren't they? Maybe this experience just forced them to the surface. Maybe, I reply, though I'm not entirely convinced. The encounter felt too concrete, too specific, and that neural spike she saw, could my brain alone really conjure something that produced such a distinct signature? Part of me whispers, what if it was something more? An outside interference, some AI or entity aware of me. But why the theatrics, the disguise? It doesn't add up. What I do know is that the figure, hallucination or not, has thrown down a gauntlet. It asked the very question I've been dreading to ask myself. Now I can't ignore it. My quest isn't just about reliving old memories anymore. It's about confronting the truth of my continuity. Is there a through line that makes me beyond just memory? If so, where does it reside? In the brain, in the pattern, or somewhere else entirely? Eleanor interrupts my racing thoughts by gently wiping a tear I hadn't realized I was crying again off my face. That must have been frightening, she says softly. I'm so sorry, Andrew. I never wanted you to experience something like that. We should stop for today. No, I say, more forcefully than I intended. I sit up straighter, clutching the blanket around me. We continue. Not immediately, I add, seeing her protest forming, but we keep going. This apparition, whether it was my subconscious or something beyond, posed a challenge, and I'm going to answer it. Marcus crosses his arms. How? The question of the in-between isn't a memory you can just access. If it's true that there's a blank, then by definition you've never recorded it in your brain. I glance at him, then Elena. Maybe not recorded in my biological brain. But what about the technology that's kept me alive? There might be data, logs of each transfer, or even brain activity at the moments of death and revival. Perhaps something can be gleaned from that. Eleanor's eyes light up with intrigue despite her worry. You're suggesting examining your death events themselves. That's risky, but it could be the key. Some patients who were revived have reported near-death experiences, though usually dismissed as neural noise. You've had more deaths than anyone. If there's a pattern or experience in those instances, maybe we can find it. Marcus paces thoughtfully. We'd need to simulate a near-death. Induce the same conditions, see if your brain or mind reacts in a way we haven't captured. Essentially, trigger an out-of-body experience in a controlled manner. Eleanor nods slowly, warming to the plan. It's extreme and definitely beyond forbidden. But if you're game, Andrew, we could attempt it. Perhaps by replaying one of your fatal incidents while monitoring for any signs of consciousness beyond the point of physical death. I feel a mix of fear and exhilaration swirl in my gut. What we're discussing is essentially me dying, or at least my mind thinking I'm dying, to see what happens. It's morbid and terrifying. I recall the figure's cold grin and shiver. Where were you then? He had asked. Am I truly ready to find out? But I also know I've come too far to turn back. I can't let fear stop me now. I square my shoulders and look at both of them. I'm game, I say firmly. We'll do it. Elena manages a small smile at my resolve. We'll need to prepare carefully, not tonight. All of us need rest, and I need to review today's data deeply for any clues. The next session will be the most perilous one yet. We have to make sure everything is as safe as possible. Marcus sighs, running a hand through his hair. If we weren't in trouble with the law before, we certainly will be if anyone ever finds out about this. He gives a weary half grin. But I didn't sign up for this expecting an easy ride. I'll start running simulations of the scenario tomorrow. Eleanor helps me to my feet. I feel steadier now, though emotionally still on edge. Andrew, go home. Get some sleep, she says. We'll contact you once we're set up for the next round. And be careful. She doesn't need to elaborate. We're all thinking about that thing I saw. Whether it was my own inner demon or some lurking digital ghost, it's rattled us. I nod. Thank you. For everything, I say, looking between her and Marcus. These two have risked their careers, perhaps their freedom for me. Their eyes tell me they think it's worth it for the knowledge we seek. After they lead me through the decontamination chamber and back into the access tunnel, we exchange brief farewells. Eleanor's parting words echo in my mind as I make my way up to the alley surface exit. Sometimes the answers we find aren't the ones we expect. Just remember that, Andrew. Night has fallen by the time I step out into the open air. The megacity looms around me, neon lights reflecting off steel and glass. High above, private aerodromes zip by, and on the horizon, the spires of the central AI's core tower blink with 1,000 sensors. I pull up my hood and blend into the sparse crowd on the sidewalk. No one gives me a second glance. To them, I'm just another middle-aged man out late. They don't know I'm actually older than their entire civilization. As I walk, I replay the apparition's words in my head. A chill wind makes me draw my coat tighter. Was that truly just my mind's creation? Or could it be that somewhere, hidden in the layers of networks and backups that have preserved me, an alternate me exists, an echo that's become self-aware? The thought is horrifying and fascinating. A twist I hadn't anticipated in my quest. I stop at a crosswalk, city lights bathing the street in a red glow. In a mirrored building across the way, I catch my reflection. A weary-faced man with haunted eyes. I remember how the figure looked, like me, but not. Is that my fate if I continue down this path? To meet some version of myself I might not want to face? Where were you then? I whisper to my reflection, repeating the question that now burns in my soul. I don't have the answer, not yet. But soon I will. The light changes. I cross, lost in thought, determination growing with each step. Whatever the truth is, whether I truly am the same person who first lived and died so long ago, or just the latest in a lineage of copies, this journey will reveal it. I feel in my bones that a revelation is coming, one that might upend everything I believe about myself. Above, the stars are hidden by the glow of the metropolis, but I imagine them beyond, watching impassively as they have for all the ages I've lived. I square my shoulders and walk on into the night. Andrew Muller has lived 10,000 lives, but only now, at the edge of this great unknown, does he truly face the possibility of finding himself, or losing himself entirely. Either way, I won't stop until I know, even if it means confronting the darkest corners of reality or my own soul. The path ahead is uncertain, possibly full of strange phenomena and unseen watchers, but I proceed with resolve. After all, when you've defied death as often as I have, you learn that no mystery stays buried forever.